Fitin10 Nation, welcome to day 61, and we've got 10 days to go, if you can believe it. And I'm going to put a challenge out to you all. There is a lack of food journals coming in, so I'm going to put the challenge out there for you to send in your journals to both myself and Martina through Slack for the remaining 10 days. Every single day, you're going to take snapshots of everything you ate from your log, your MyFitnessPal log, and you're going to send them in to us, okay? So make sure you do that final 10 days here. Not a long way to go, but still 1/7 of the challenge. Every week makes a difference. Obviously, every day makes a difference. Every meal makes a difference. And so I want to get you guys finishing strong here, okay? A lot can happen in 10 days, okay? Maybe not make a massive change, but a lot can happen in the last 10 days. Reminder here, your food entries are only as good as what they actually represent. So I've seen examples with soups or pastas, and sometimes people are picking entries. These are just examples. People are picking entries from MyFitnessPal, and they don't, they're not entries that they created, okay? So these entries are just a random entry that fits the title of what you've had. But calorie-wise and or macronutrient-wise, chances are they don't meet, and they could be way off. So, especially if it's like, it says one portion, like, what's a portion? So we have to be very, very careful with this. So no, it's better than nothing, of course. Making sure that you have a history of what you're eating is really, really important whenever you're, going on a diet or watching what you're eating. But the more accurate we can be with what we're eating, the better off we're going to be in terms of knowing exactly where we stand in our history of food consumption, right? Okay. I had a question about sweeteners. Sweeteners with protein powders in particular, but we could speak about sweeteners in general. There's a lot of sweeteners out there that you'll see. You'll see things like, stevia, monk fruit. Okay, those are more natural-based sweeteners. But you might see things like aspartame or sucralose or asfalfame. I can never say this one. Asfalfame potassium. Thank you. And there's some other ones. Okay, and so the concern is well, what about these ones like sucralose and aspartame, etc. Should I be concerned about this? Is there any issue with having these? Are they going to affect my health? There is data to suggest that, at least with aspartame, that it can be cancerous. However, this was something that's been demonstrated in mice, and the amount that was given to mice was huge. Like, you'd have to consume, I think, in the neighborhood of pounds of it in order to see these types of effects. Pounds in a very, very short period of time. So, know this, there's always a toxicity with everything. There's a toxicity with water. So it's really about how much are you having, how often are you having it, and over what time period, right? So those three things are really what amount to toxicity. So now there are some things that you have to be really, really careful with. I mean, certainly we've probably all heard on the news with street drugs, when we're looking especially at fentanyl. Fentanyl is actually it's like a not microscopic, but it's a very, very small dose, I think, that kills you. I think it's something like a gram or something that kills people. So it's almost you can't even really see it when it's been put in some other sort of drug. So there are some things that are highly, they're very, very strong. They're very, very toxic in terms of their density. So you need to be very, very careful. But when it comes to sweeteners, there isn't really any evidence of this, okay? As I said, if you're taking huge amounts, we're able to show that it's got some sort of negative effects. But if you're having a little bit every day, I don't really think that there's any evidence to suggest that it's going to do any harm to you. Now, this being said, I do try to go for things, protein powders that have sweeteners such as stevia and monk fruit. And actually, if you look at the ATP Lab protein powders, their whole line, they're all sweetened with stevia. So, you certainly can't go wrong this way. And it's also, I guess we could remind ourselves here too that just because something is natural doesn't mean that it's going to be good for you. There's many things in nature that are toxic for us. But certainly stevia and monk fruit has never shown this. Okay, at least not to my knowledge. So I always try to, for what it's worth, I always personally try to look for those things. And so you can do that too. But if you're having some sucralose or some aspartame or aspartame potassium in your diet, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Okay. All right. Lastly, I want to say something else here about big picture. It is really important to be concerned with, did I go 10 grams over on my carbohydrates, 15 grams on my over my carbohydrates? Maybe I didn't get enough protein in for the day. Maybe I'm 10 or 15 grams short, something like that. Obviously, we want to be as close to those numbers that I give you. This is really, really important. But I want you to think about big picture, right? If you're eating foods, if you're eating these real whole food sources, you're going to, and you're not measuring anything out, the chances of you eating an overabundance of calories are very, very low. In fact, this is not going to happen because these foods are highly satiating and very, very nutrient dense. And you're just not going to overeat. Okay, if you're somebody who's eating, if you're a smaller person, you're eating somewhere in the neighborhood of 15, 16, 1700 calories, and you're eating these foods only, your chances of eating 2,500 or 3,000 calories worth of those foods, it's just not going to happen. But if you're eating foods like, chips, crackers, juices, baked goods, certain kinds of breads, jellies, etc. These foods you can easily consume, 2,500, 3,000, 4,000 calories of these foods and not know it. So, think big picture, think about what you're eating. Of course, knowing how much you're eating is even better because you know exactly where you stand on that calorie map, or more specifically, the macronutrient map. But always thinking about, getting in a good source of protein every meal, along with, some of these carbohydrates, such as, and people are always asking about this, I don't know what to eat for carbohydrates. We want to have some carbohydrates in the diet. I think it's valuable, especially for sustainability. So when we're talking about carbohydrates here, tubers, okay, potatoes, yams, rice, okay, can be white rice or brown rice if you prefer, oatmeal, quinoa, these types of things, okay? And of course, fruit and vegetables. Now people say, I just can't seem to eat enough vegetables. I'm eating so many vegetables, I can't get my carbohydrates in with the vegetables. Yeah, vegetables generally are not very carbohydrate dense. So sticking with things like your starches, okay, like the foods I just mentioned before, potatoes, yams, rice, quinoa, oatmeal, etc., and fruit, this is going to be more helpful in terms of getting in some decent carbohydrates. And this is going to prevent you, remember this is going to prevent you from wanting or craving those other foods that you're seeking, okay? Especially if you eat boiled potato or yam specifically. These have a very high satiety, so you're just not gonna be able to eat a lot of those. So remember, we want nutrition, we want satiety in order to keep us healthy and prevent us from going to these other foods, okay? So remember, it's happy medium with your calories. So always think big picture, okay? Think big picture when you're moving ahead past this challenge. Hopefully you'll join another one of our challenges. All right, message of the day here. It's never too late to become what you could have been, okay? It's never too late. Let me reread that actually. It's never too late to become what you might have been, okay? So never think that, I tried and there's no point, or I'm past due, or I'm too old, or I'm definitely don't think you're not capable, or even worse, don't even think, well, that's bad enough as is, that it won't make a difference. It's just not going to make a difference if I do this. It makes a difference. Everything makes a difference, okay? So remember, in this whole thing here, everything is a choice, but we've got to think about sustainability, and with sustainability comes moderation. And so how are we going to moderate ourselves? And how are we going to keep our bodies healthy? How are we going to keep ourselves healthy, feeling energetic and sustained? Okay, real whole foods. Think about real whole foods. Good protein source along with some real whole food sources. Positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, for the love of God, give some gratitude, and we will talk to you all soon.